Hey guys, welcome back. Today's gonna be a little different. This week, of course, every week we go over Sunday's readings and we break it down for you. I break it down for you guys. But today we're gonna focus what's coming up, and that is Lent, and what's gonna start us off going into Lent and ends at Easter, and that's Ash Wednesday. So we're gonna talk about Ash Wednesday readings. So we are focused on Wednesday readings instead of this Sunday's reading. So just be mindful of that. And I have a special guest. She's my closest friend in my inner circle, and her name is
Cameron. Hey.
so she'll be joining me today. I asked her to be on here, so I'm glad she said yes. So I'm gonna start us off, and what starts us off, and we're going into Lent, like I said, and what starts us off today is Ash Wednesday. And I know what you're at this age to where I guess whether you go to church or not, like your grandma forces you or your mom forces you. It's like a Sunday ritual, and every year we get these ashes on our forehead. And as a kid, like at your age, I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't know how much it signified, and I didn't know how much it meant to our faith. So I just want to tell you a story. So when I was in sixth grade, like you guys, I was in sixth grade. I did go to church all the time, and I didn't have ashes on my forehead. And of course, everyone has questions like, "Oh, hey, you have dirt on your head, or you have something there. Let me get it for you." I say, "No, no, 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 no." And I think one time someone asked me like, "Hey, you have ashes on your forehead. I think you should take it off." And like immediately, I went, "Oh, like my bad." And at that moment, I think I knew what I was doing, and I felt when I got back home from school, I felt like I was really ashamed because I was ashamed of my faith, and I think that's what kind of um, it goes against what the purpose of Lent is, and it's like
It like made you feel uncomfortable.
yeah,
because you stuck out like a
yeah, I stuck out like a sore thumb, and it's like I didn't feel good. But as the years went by, I didn't care what anybody thought because I knew the importance of Ash Wednesday and what Lent meant. And I think that's what we're going to do today. That maybe if you're feeling that way, that where if someone puts you on the spotlight, we want you to be comfortable saying, yes, this is what I believe in. This is what I believe with all my heart. And I know that this is true because it's God showing me this is the way, this is the truth in the life. And with the ashes that are on our forehead, there's no doubt about it. So that's like the little story. That's what I learned. But so what does Ash Wednesday mean for us? And what it means is it starts next Wednesday, February 17th, and it's to start Lent. It's the beginning day where we do a period of time called Lent, and it ends on Easter. And so of course the biggest question is why do we get ashes? And to me, we've all heard the verse, right? From ashes to ashes, from dust to dust you shall return. Something like that, something around those lines. But I think what it to me like, and they always associate something with we have to give up something for Lent. We have to, but it's always something we have to give up something. And to me, when we get the ashes on our forehead, every year, I think it represents our physical desires, or maybe mental desires, that we are trying to die from our worldly desires and to give it up for something greater, if that makes sense, right?
Or like escape from our earthly, like just the things that typical humans do. Escape from what we do here on earth and try to connect with what's happening up there in heaven.
Yeah, I agree with you. But when we get these ashes, and I do want to mention something in the readings, it's pretty great. Well, when we get these ashes on our forehead, is to represent who we believe in and why we believe in. So, and this is one of the readings. This is the second reading from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 20. This is the beginning, and it says, "So we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. We beg you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our sake he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." And when I think of ambassadors, I think of someone wearing the merch of some other like brand, right? And I think that's what, to me, that's what kind of Ash Wednesday is. We're basically wearing the merch of Jesus. Basically, we're put as ambassadors. We're representing that. Yes, this is who I believe in. Yes, this is I love God, and for what He did on the cross is an example of what the ashes mean, kind of. And everyone's gonna see it, and that's why I think it goes on the forehead, because that's the first thing they see when you see someone, right? You automatically look at their face. I think that when you look at someone's face, when we have the ashes, I think we want them to think, man, this is who Christ is,
Yeah.
where we want to mimic Christ through us. Like Christ uses us to mimic Him, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So, and the biggest question is, well, like Jonah, what did we give up, right? We're supposed to give up something, and in order to better a relationship with God, right? And that's what this whole Lenten process is we give up one of our worldly desires, something that stops us from trying to get closer to God, right? This wall in between us, right? If I'm Jonah and Cameron's God, what's this wall that we want to break down?
Yeah.
With a process, right? What do we want to give up? I think the biggest question, or I think the answer to that, is to think about in your life, what stops you from praying every night? What stops you from maybe going to church, right? And whatever that may be. And when we say we give up something, you don't have to give up. It's a tradition, right? Give up Coke, give up candy, right? Give up, like me, this whole Lent. Like, yes, that's good and that's great, right? But don't go with the basic approach to it, right? You don't have to give up candy, right? Because that's not stopping you, right? Because I can't remember the last time I ate candy. But
not like something that doesn't even pertain to you. Also, like you can't say I'm gonna give up vegetables if you don't even like vegetables. So that's not even like it's kind of not even like pushing yourself to say I'm giving up something for God when in the first place you never even did that thing. So I mean, to me it feels like it has to be something that you're really like, it's gonna be tough, but you're supposed to be reminded of that hardship, because you know this whole Lenten season, it's about Jesus giving up something for us. It's about Him doing something it's about Him sacrificing something for us. And so therefore us giving up these little bitty things, I mean, it's much smaller than what He did, but it's reminding us, hey, I can give back to what Jesus gave to me. And if that is giving up Snapchat for 40 days, which is really hard for a lot of people, we're gonna have to do that, because we need to be reminded every time that we're tempted to just log back on Snapchat or download the application again. We need to be reminded of what it was that Jesus did for us. And I think that's why it has to be such a significant thing that's a part of your life.
yeah, I do. I think that a lot, and I think we should, which what we were gonna do starting today, is ask God, what do you want us to give up? Like, it could be anything. And we watched a video, and what she said caught my attention. Is she said God speaks to us in a language that only we can understand. And I think that's really, it's beautiful, but I think it's true, because we know in our heart, I know we have those moments, right? We've had those moments where it's like, hey, was that God? Like,
Yeah.
And we get this feeling of maybe it was Him or maybe it wasn't, right? So I think we
because it's not always an audible voice. I mean, I don't think it's ever an audible voice, like literally this gigantic voice saying, don't do that. I think it's always just like, I mean, for me, when I get a message from God, it's always like, it's repetitive, so it just comes up all the time. I would get these messages about trusting in God. And so I would get little notes on my, like when I would look at a book, it would say trust. And when I would go to church, He would talk about trusting. And then when I would listen to the radio, and it would talk about trust. So that was kind of my message from God. And so, and I don't know what kind of messages you've had, like.
To me, it's usually not coincidences, but it usually, like, it happens in signs. Like,
Yeah.
I read about something and it pops up later, like in the week, and I go, man, this is, and we think about it, it's like, man, this is probably God trying to tell me something.
Like repetitive too.
And it gets pretty, like, you start smiling because you start putting things together, you know. So, but and like I said, these videos, guys, right? We want to. My goal for you is so when you're approached with these kind of things, you know the answer to. So if someone were to come up to you and say, hey, why do you have dirt on your forehead? And say, wait, it's not dirt, it's ashes. And they say, well, why do you have ashes? And you respond how you think you should. But for us, well, for me, I would say, just mention, like, of course I'm Catholic, and before a little bit, couple months before Easter, we have this process called Lent. And then and she'll explain what Lent is. She didn't hear talk about it, but for Ash Wednesday, you say Ash Wednesday is the starting point for Lent. The reason why we have these ashes is to represent our physical death and our mental, I guess our mental death, saying that we give up we give up things that puts us that makes us turn away from God, right? We put that to the side and we put it on the cross.
Yeah.
And then He makes do with it. He makes our sin, kind of throws it in the basket and brings out something beautiful, you know? And this is a symbol, this ash is a symbol of what the Catholic believes is one of the best times of the year, right?
It's my favorite.
It's favorite,
my
right?
favorite liturgical season.
So that you hopefully you see Christ through me, right? That kind of, we're the ambassadors of Christ, that symbol. And so when someone comes up to you and say, why do you have dirt on your forehead? Just say, it's not dirt, but it's ash. It's supposed to represent the death of my worldly desires, to give up something so small, whether it's, not being on my phone for an hour before bed, or, doing something that we know it's temple, and making something beautiful and give it a beautiful routine, like praying every night, praying a rosary once a week with your grandmother, like I do. Whatever it may be, doing a good deed for someone.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, you don't always have to give up something, but it's also about giving towards others or doing something that.
Yeah, maybe this whole Lenten season, you don't give up a thing, but you gain something. So like he was saying, you gain praying every night, or you gain praying a rosary, or maybe even gain going to church every Sunday, because we're college students. We know Saturday nights come and it is hard to get up that Sunday morning. And so for us, that would be, hey, let's make it a point to do it. Even though we're supposed to, it's still hard. So making a point to just go to Mass every Sunday. So don't think that this Lenten season is about you just suffering for 40 days. It could be totally opposite. And we never finished about that video we watched. We watched this video about this girl who asked God just point blank, hey, what should I do for Lent? And she was taken as surprised by it, but she kept hearing him say or tell her to eat an orange every day. And she was kind of like, why? Why would I eat an orange? Like, what does this have to do with you dying on the cross or anything like that? And so she kept going, whatever. She kept asking him. And again, he would say, eat an orange every day. So she finally settled on it. She said, okay, fine, I'll do it. So she went to the grocery store. She bought her a thing of oranges. And she said that as soon as she picked up those oranges and like paid for them, she just felt this like discomfort inside of her. Like it wasn't right. Like this is wrong. And she was confused because she was like, you told me to eat an orange every day. Like, why is this wrong if you're telling me this? And inside her heart, she felt him say, no, I don't want you to go and buy an orange. I want to provide something for you. So what he was really trying to tell her throughout this whole season was that he's going to provide for her, that he's going to be there for her. So she was like, okay, I will give these oranges to somebody else. Like, show me how you're going to provide for me. And that same day, she goes back to her house and she sees her mailbox has been open, and she's like, I wonder what's in there. She checks it, and there was an orange in there from her neighbor. She had just barely lived there for like 2 months, but still, she had never even talked to her neighbor, and he just felt the need to give her an orange that day. So she was, sorry.
No, I mean, it's like out of all things, like why like an orange, right?
Yeah, like it could have been like a pie or something.
Or like an apple,
like something a little bit more homey. But no, it was an orange, and so she was like, okay, like I can get on board with this. And then she was upset because she was scared that she wasn't going to be provided an orange every day. And she was like, if I don't get provided an orange today, then does that mean that he's just not going to provide for me on some days? She was just super, I mean, it was a stressful thing for her, this orange. And then one day she was driving, and now she was used to the fact to just always look for an orange. So she was driving along this street that she had never been on, and she just happened to see this pile of the color orange, and she was wondering what it was. So she turned her car back around and she looked, and it was a huge bucket, and she showed the picture online. this huge crate of oranges, and it said, "Take as many as you want. They're free." And so she just kind of sat there crying, because I mean, that's an amazing thing to be. I mean, especially if she was upset about it for a while, and like, God, I don't know how you're gonna do this. But then for him to just be like, "Well, here's all the oranges you need. Like, you asked, and I'm gonna give them to you." And she like kind of sat there crying, and she was like, "How many can I take?" And he said in her heart, "Take as many as you need." So that she said that changed her whole
Perspective.
yeah, after that, because she didn't give up anything. She literally just ate an orange every day, and because of that, she was happy every single time, because she knew that his point to get across was for her to be happy, or for her to even know that I'm going to provide for you. And even as simple as getting an orange every single day, it was still just amazing for her. So she asks him every single Lenten season, and she explained later on that last year, I think, she asked him what to do, and he told her to dance every single day. Every single day at whatever time she could, she would just dance. And she said she was just so happy because, and it is a time where we're supposed to be sad and depressed because Jesus is dying. But throughout that depression, I think we can also see the brighter side of things and think, like, yes, she was just really happy the whole time. So I encourage you, and what we're going to try to do tonight is to ask God, hey, what should I do for Lent? We have a few more days to figure that out, and hopefully
we have 6 days.
Yeah. So I would encourage y'all to try it. It's not going to hurt really, and then imagine what you'll get out of it.
Yeah.
If you do listen to his voice and see what he has to say.
Yeah, but I think what she said before, like she said, it wasn't an audible voice. She just knew what her heart said. So, with that being said, that's Ash Wednesday for you guys in our view, and so hopefully you kind of gain some insight and knowledge. And ask your parents, guys. I mean, these videos shouldn't be the only source. Ask the priest. Ask what your parents would say. Mom, Dad, if someone came up to me like this, what do I do? Because I asked my grandmother a lot of things. If she was a saint, she was the best saint.
She's the best saint.
Yeah, but I asked my grandmother all these types of questions because she knows more than I do, and my uncle. What I'm saying is, if you have a question about any of this, Ash Wednesday, Lent, ask your parents, because they're the ones that put this faith in you, and praise God that they did. So that's Ash Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
so we touched on Lent basically. So Lent, I don't know if we talked about like the whole season of Lent, but if you don't already know, this is 40 days that we go through, and I know that the number 40 is very significant throughout the whole Bible. So like Noah's Ark flooded for 40 days and 40 nights. Jesus spent 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, no food. Imagine that for 40 days, just absolutely no food but water. Could not be me. Anyway, so it's 40 days, and basically what we're preparing ourselves for is for Jesus' death. And so kick it off on Ash Wednesday. So we go through that whole time, and it's my favorite Lenten season because that's when I feel the closest to God. So like when Holy Thursday comes around, I am just, this is super like not good to say, but I am pumped up. Like Holy Thursday, we're getting our feet washed, and it's like you're there in that upper room. You're there, you're witnessing what's happening, and you can feel Jesus there. And then that whole process that we do from Good Friday to Holy Saturday, or Holy Thursday to Holy Saturday, sitting with Jesus I don't know if y'all do this, but we put him in the crying room, and somebody has to be in there all the time for Jesus' presence, waiting for him to rise. So anyway, this whole season is just very significant to me, just because I can feel it throughout the whole thing. I can feel at 3:00 on Good Friday when he's dying. I can feel when I'm watching the Passion of the Christ, and every step that he takes, it's just, I can feel it in my heart. So it's my favorite. So anyway, we're preparing for Jesus' death, and we're getting ready. We're trying to figure out really what he went through and how we can thank him, I guess, for that.
I think how we can kind of not mimic it, but
because there's no way.
Yeah, there's no way. But like, how can we
relate to him?
Yeah,
I guess.
How can we relate? And I think that's what.
How can we show you that we love you just as much, that we would be willing to carry a cross if we could?
Because he gave up his body, and so it's the question is, well, what can I give up for at least 40
Yeah.
days?
And there's this beautiful thing that we started, my church at home started, I think 2 years ago. And we decided, between the two parishes that our father preached at, we decided to walk in between those two towns while carrying like 7 crosses, or 14 because we were doing Stations of the Cross, and meet in the middle. And I want to say it was like 14 miles. It was long. It was a long day. But that's what we decided to do on Good Friday, to show like Jesus. I mean, we didn't do half of what Jesus did, but we're willing to show Jesus, like, and he knows that we love him enough to try and not mimic, but do what he kind of did. So in Matthew chapter 6, which is the readings for Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, it talks about the concerning, or Jesus tells us about the concerning of almsgiving and prayer and fasting and all of that. And from what I gathered from this is, he's saying, when you give alms, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets. So he always talks about these hypocrites, like, do this, but don't do as the hypocrites do. So don't, when you give alms, so like when you're giving money, when you're doing, like, you know, at church when they pass around the basket, don't be like very, I don't know, what's the word, like, don't boast yourself, and
I think just don't show off. Like,
yeah, don't show off. Like, if you have money, which we're children and we don't, but if we had a lot of money, don't show off that you have that money. That's between you and God, and God knows when you're giving a significant amount back to the church. He knows that. And the same thing with prayer. Like he says, Jesus says, and when you pray, this is in Matthew 6, verse 5. And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, that they may be seen by men. And I've personally seen that a lot. I see people who are all about the prayer. They love praying in front of people. They love being with a crowd of people, and they're like, look at me, I'm praying because I'm a good Christian. And I'm not saying that they're bad Christians. I'm just saying that if it's a true, meaningful prayer, it's just between you and Jesus. It's just y'all two, and nobody has to witness that you're a good Christian, because he knows. He knows when you do pray to him. He knows when you ignore him. He knows everything. Yeah. So
I was gonna add on to that. I think you don't have to go out your way to show your faith.
Yeah.
That's what popped in my head just now. You don't have to go out your way to show that you're giving up something, because honestly, it's gonna happen by itself. Mm-hmm. People, everywhere you go, you have witnesses, and when someone witnesses you do something, whether it's praying for someone or whether it's, you know, doing what you're doing during Lent, you're gonna have a witness. I think what Matthew was trying to say is, don't go out, or Jesus, but Matthew, in the book of Matthew, don't go out your way to show off. To show your faith,
yeah. To show that you're close to Jesus.
Don't just do it for a show, but do it for a purpose and intention. You know, don't go out your way. And I think that's what the hypocrites did. They went out their way to say, look, I'm preaching, I'm praising the Lord. But, and Matthew states this, or Jesus does, but they will have the reward. I think the reward is like, kind of like, okay, I've got my praise from other people. Mm-hmm. I think that's what
or people believe that I am a good Christian now, so now they're gonna see me differently.
Yeah.
But if you just carry yourself around like, I mean, not carry yourself around like I'm a good Christian, but I mean, if you have a good posture in your faith, people recognize that without you telling them that.
Yeah, people recognize that, like,
they're gonna see that regardless of what you're doing. So, and this relates to, and let me get to fasting really quick. So, and when you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, and their fasting may be seen by men. So fasting is another way of like saying giving up something. So giving up candy, Cokes, and stuff like that.
And then also too, we can't eat meat on Fridays.
Yes,
right?
Friday.
You can't. Don't eat
Ash
meat on Fridays.
Wednesday and Friday. Do not eat meat. But anyway, so fasting. Yeah. So on Ash Wednesday, when we have to fast from meat, and you're around your friends and you're at school and you're like, oh, I can't eat meat today. Don't do it in a way that's like, feel bad for me, because that's kind of what Jesus is saying. Like, they disfigure their faces. They were like, I'm sad because I can't eat meat today. They make themselves seem like they're dying, and it's like, no, that's not what this is about. This is about our sacrifice yet again, to give up this meat just on this one day, and
just one day of the week.
Yeah, well, 2 days for the first week, but anyway, so this relates to Lent in a way that's like all these things that we're going to be doing this Lent. So you'll probably hear Father say the 3 things you should do during Lent is to fast, to give almsgiving, and to pray. And that's something that I'm going to really try to work on. I get told that every year, and every year I only do 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 3. And so yeah, you're going to be hearing this probably quite a lot. So this relates to Lent in a way that's like, do these things, but do them in the intention that Jesus is on the other side of that line.
That he was intended to do.
Yeah.
What he's instilled in.
Yeah, and that he's not looking for you to show off to your friends that you gave up meat for a whole day. He's wanting to see your heart. He's wanting to see where this Lent will take you, and he's wanting to see how he can deeper into your heart and how he can get into your everyday life.
And if which it will be, if the goal is completed to where you have a relationship with Christ, it takes on.
Yeah,
it takes over. It goes after Lent.
Yeah,
right?
it goes
and you're
way
like,
past Lent, and
it's like it's
a new lifestyle.
It's a new lifestyle there.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So anyway, that's the intention that we're hoping all of us, really, not just y'all and not just us, but like everybody during this Lenten season, is just to see where God can take us and to see if when he reaches out his hand for us, if we're going to take it, and if we're going to understand everything that goes, because there's a lot that goes on through Lent, and it's a lot to take in, especially if you haven't, because y'all are teenagers, so I'm wouldn't doubt if you haven't been paying attention before this, because I don't think I even started paying attention to what this was even about either. So it's okay to take it one step at a time, because it is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But like you said, the end goal is to make it a new lifestyle, to not just go through Lent, but to make it through the whole
shebang.
Yeah, the whole end of it.
Yeah. So if you haven't been listening, which is okay, this is a long video. This is probably the longest video we've done, or I've put on. But to recap, Ash Wednesday, these ashes we get on our forehead, it's not just some dirt that the priest decided to put on us, but it's a symbol of our physical death. And what?
Sorry, I was just gonna add a quick fact. Those ashes, they're actually burned palms from last Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep. So you never know.
Yeah. So, and just they're just a sign of our physical death, that we must give up our worldly desires. And like we said, like that woman that you don't have to give up something, but something simple by eating an orange every day, right? But just that that small thing to do during Lent, and that these ashes represent, kind of from dust, from ash to ash, from dust to dust.
Dust you shall
return, something like that. But and we're dust, which is like we're just this nothingness, right? Dust, but through Christ, we rise up to something beautiful. So when someone asks you, why do you have dirt? Say, no, it's not dirt, it's ash. And this is why we do it. And it starts off, it's the kickoff game to Lent.
Yeah.
So, and then the recap of Lent.
Is 40 days. Starts off with Ash Wednesday and technically ends Holy Saturday. And then a whole new Easter season starts on Easter. So anyway, 40 days, and every Friday you're not going to eat meat, because it is a sacrifice that we're all willing to make. And it is my belief and Jonah's belief that chicken is meat. So do not say
fish is not meat, guys.
Well, fish is meat, but that's the one exception. So
anyway. Oh yeah. But like you eat it on Friday. That's what I meant.
One exception. But anyway, so we're not going to eat meat on Fridays. We're not going to eat meat on Wednesday, Ash Wednesday. We're going to try to do the 3 main things, which is give almsgiving, pray and fast. So think about what you're going to give up for Lent or gain. Ask Jesus, because I bet you he's willing to tell you. He knows you better than we do. He knows you better than your mama. So
your mama knows everything about you.
Yeah. So ask him, and he'll tell you, because he knows what you need to gain in your life or what you need to give up.
All right.
Yeah.
So that being said, we'll see y'all, I believe, either next week or the next week after that. We'll figure it out. But I'll see you later, guys.
Sorry for the extremely long video, but it's okay. I hope you gained something.
All right. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.